When I was 24, my best friend from childhood died by suicide, and I was living in Australia. I didn't have the money to get home, and I also I only heard close enough that even if I did have the money, I wouldn't have made it back in time for the funeral. And that, I'd been around not a lot, but I'd been at funerals. I'd maybe seen 50 dead bodies over the course, or by that stage already, and but I hadn't had the grief of somebody who died at that age and in that way. And I was shocked, and perhaps in the same way that you're talking about seeing your mother, because you're shocked by what you're seeing, and then you're shocked by what category do I put this into, and so you're initiated into all kinds of terrible things all at the same time, and that was very painful. And I realized, mostly because of anger, that I had things to say to him. And then I felt guilty, of course, about my anger. But my anger was strong enough. I tend to be a fairly guilt-driven person, unfortunately. But the anger was strong enough that it's kind of said, shut up to the guilt. And I still needed to say it. And there's something that occurs when you speak to a person when they're alive with the word you, the intimacy of that beautiful word you, and with somebody who you love, or somebody who you're close to, or just one of those teenage boy friendships where you spend a lot of time with each other without talking about all kinds of things. You still become a different person when you speak to them. They draw something out of you. So when they die, it isn't only that they've died; it's also the part of you. And I was just his friend. I wasn't his mother. I wasn't his father. I wasn't his sister. But there's something in me that was drawn out. I have to wonder, where does that part of me that I've become in relationship with him, where does that go? And there's parts of who I discovered myself to be, memories as well. I wrote a poem about it. I wrote it almost a year after he died. I should say his name. Cathal O'Brien was his name. Postcards to a Dead Friend. Since you died, I've wondered where you are, questioned hell and threatened heaven. Is there a place for those who say they don't believe? When you were 16, you said that you'd believe when you were older, maybe 40. You barely got halfway. Since you died, I think about my growing years differently. How dare you take my memories and paint them with the bitter vinegar of your sad sorrows? I had enough already. Since you died, I see your parents differently. Solitary walks do not mean peaceful rambles, and framed photographs are not artistic expression. They looked like they'd been winded for months. Since you died, I've thought about you more than I had in years, called you a dickhead most often, and lurched at what caused your final purging. Since you died, you will grow no older now. The 24-year-old Peter Pan of your mother's mind, her lost boy, caught in the never-never land between the grave and the sky.